Hey, do you want to make video games but don't know how? Don't worry, I got you. Woo! New video, new microphone. Welcome back to the fifth video in the beginner game dev tutorial series. In this video, we'll clean up our scene, create a simple background and walls, modify the ball physics, and create some targets. Let's go. All right, let's go ahead and clean up our scene a little bit. We'll right click and create an empty game object. We won't actually use this as a game object. Instead, we'll use this as a folder and we'll call it MISC for miscellaneous. And we can put things like the global light or main camera inside of our miscellaneous folder. Before we do that, let's reset the transform so it's at 0, 0, 0. Awesome. All right, we can take our global light and main camera and drag them into the miscellaneous folder. Then let's create one more folder. We'll call this environment. Now we can start to create some environment objects like some walls on the side, some barriers, etc. and make this game a little more fun. Before we do that, we're a little too zoomed in. So let's go ahead and select our camera. Over on the right, expand out your camera object. Where it says size, let's make that a 10. All right, so now you can see we're a little offset with our vertical axis. So let's take our camera and raise up the Y position to 4.5. We'll go to 5. There we go. It's personal preference, but there it kind of cuts that capsule off right in half. Another cleanup item, let's go ahead and add a folder in our projects tab. Right-clicking, create folder. This one, we'll call it 01.scripts. That way it'll always be on top. Adding the 01. Other folders you could add, you get 02 for prefab, 03 for materials, 04 for assets and artwork, etc. Audio files. For right now, we just want to clean up our scripts. So go ahead and grab these two scripts and move them into the scripts folder. All right, another cleanup item, we have this capsule that should have been called platform when we remade this game object. So let's go ahead and right click, rename that to platform. And then one other item is on the platform script. Let's go ahead and open that up. And you'll notice we have platform speed, but in order to change it, we have to come into the script. So now that we know about serialized fields, let's go ahead and add a serialized field at the start. Save that, navigate back over to Unity, and you'll notice that we can now change the speed. We can actually change it during runtime to get it where we want it. So go ahead and hit play. And you see it's a little slow, can't really keep up. So I'm going to change it. I'm going to double it. We're going to go to 10. Let's see how that is. Oh, that's a little better. Awesome. Notice when I hit stop, it's not going to save the variable. You could copy your variable and then paste it back in afterwards, but since it was only one variable, I remember what I had it set to, we can update that back to 10. Okay, I'm sure you're not liking the artwork, and don't worry, eventually we will add in some nicer artwork. For now, everything that we're adding is just placeholders. You're learning how to build the mechanics without having to worry about the art. There's nothing worse than building out an awesome mechanic for this awesome character, this new artwork that you brought in, just to later decide, oh, you don't need it and you don't want it anymore, and you just wasted an entire week working on something you don't need. So for right now, I will say I do not like the blue background. So we can fix that and we'll create a 2D object, sprite. Let's add a square inside of our environment folder. Did notice that our environment was not reset. So let's go ahead and reset that, and we can reset our square as well that we just created. Let's go ahead and rename this to background. And we can expand its scale out something like 50 by 50. Now you can change the background color. I'll make it black for right now. Now you might go, where did my objects go? Don't worry, we can easily get our objects back by updating our order and layer to -1. Because our boulder and platform are on layer 0, they will appear in front of the background. All right, let's go ahead and add some walls to our environment as well. That way we don't lose our boulder if it bounces too far to the right or to the left. Inside of our environment game object, let's create another 2D sprite square. We'll call this wall, just so we know exactly what this object is. And then so we can see where it's at in the world, we'll navigate back to the scene view, zoom out a little bit, and see the bounds of your camera and hit W on your keyboard. We can slide this guy right over to the left, change its color, something crazy for right now. Just so you know, this is the wall. And we can set, well, we got to make it a little taller, right? We'll go 20. Actually, in case our ball bounces too high, we'll go 50. We can slide it up. There we go. So now we can add a component, Box Collider 2D, to our wall. And now, just a reminder, you can uncheck your sprite render to see the green lines and know that your Box Collider is active. Awesome. One of the best shortcuts inside of Unity, besides Control Z to undo something, is Control D to duplicate something. So on our wall, we're going to hit Control D, it's going to duplicate it. We can pull this over to the right. In fact, we could rename these to right wall and left wall. Awesome. Now let's go ahead and hit play. We should see our walls in action. A little hard to get over there, but getting there slowly. There we go. It's bouncing off the wall. Something else to note here is this boulder is not bouncing very high. And in fact, the more I say boulder, the less I like it. So let's back out and we're going to change it to ball. Makes a little more sense. All right. So we have our ball. Remember, we have a physics material that we also called boulder. So I'm going to update that one by, if you double click on it as well, you can rename it to ball. You could also right click and hit rename. So that's the ball material. What we need to make is a platform material. That way, when it interacts with the platform, we get a little extra boost. So we're going to right click in our project folder and we're going to create a 2D physics material 2D. Awesome. We'll call this physics material platform. And in the top right for this material, we'll set the bounciness to, we'll go with 2 for right now and we'll see how it goes. All right. Now we got to assign this to our platform. So we're going to select our platform and we're going to drag this into the Capsule Collider material. You could also hit the button and select it. Now we have 2 objects, but it's already in there. All right, let's hit play and see what happens. And it's bouncing. Oh, that's pretty good. We're getting up there and it's gone. Let's toggle over to scene view and it is out of this world. It is way too high for what we want. So how do we fix that? Well, there's actually a couple ways we could fix that. We could play around with our platform bounciness and even our ball bounciness and try to change the bounce, how bounce is combined. But ultimately, one of the better options is to make your own script. That way you can control exactly how the platform is interacting with the ball. That's a little bit too much for a beginner tutorial, so instead, I have a shortcut. So what is the shortcut? The shortcut is we're going to just clamp or restrict the maximum velocity for our boulder. That way we guarantee that it doesn't just keep going faster and faster the higher it goes. So to do that, we need to create a script on our ball. So go over here, we'll call it ball controller. Enter, enter, open that sucker up. So our ball controller script is attached to our ball. So we know that our ball has a rigid body, which controls the velocity. So we need to get a reference to the rigid body. So let's make a variable first so we can store the reference to the rigid body. We'll call it rigid body 2D, and we'll name it ball, lowercase ball RB for ball rigid body. Awesome. We can get rid of the comments, and in our start method, we need to get a reference to the ball rigid body that's attached to the ball as a component. And to do that, we can say ball RB equals get component rigid body 2D. Awesome. All right, so what we want to do is restrict the maximum velocity of our ball. And we're going to want to customize it and play around with till we get it just right. So to do that, let's create another variable that we can edit in our inspector. So we need to make a float variable that we can change. And to change it in the inspector, it needs to be a serialized field. And we'll call this new variable our ball max velocity. We can set it to default right now. We'll set it to 10, but we'll change it in the inspector. So now that we have a variable to adjust our maximum velocity, we need to set it. And to make any updates or restrictions to the velocity of a physics object, that needs to be done constantly. And we don't want to do it every frame in the update because Unity does updates to the physics system in fixed update. So just know any edits to physics need to be done in fixed update. So we can delete our regular update and add in a fixed update. Awesome. Now, what do we want to do? We want to take our ball RB dot linear velocity and ensure it doesn't go over the maximum velocity. So there's a function using vector2 dot clamp magnitude, and we're going to pass in our ball, our rigid body dot linear velocity and ensure it doesn't go over our ball max velocity. Awesome. Go ahead and save that and not duplicate. Oh my. Let's save it and go back to our project and see what happens. All right. There it goes. And doesn't look like it's getting any higher. I do want it to reach the top of the screen at the very least. So let's go ahead and modify the script. Let's bump it up to 20. There we go. Looks like it went just over. Let's go to scene view. Yeah, you can play around with it. Again, personal preference. If you want to zoom your camera out further, you might want to change your max velocity to something higher. But there we go. Now we have our rigid body being clamped to maximum velocity, ensuring our ball doesn't go out of this world. Awesome. Couple items I want to fix real quick, and that is kind of centering these walls. You notice they're a little off, and in Unity we can turn on grid snapping, and then we can set how far we want the grid to actually snap. So the interval, we'll set it to 1, and if we select our left wall, make sure it's on a whole number like -19. Then we can just move it, and you notice it moves perfectly one block at a time. Awesome. So we're going to put that one at -18, and we're going to take our right wall and we'll put it at 18. And there we go. 18 is good. Go back to game view. They're both centered. Giant yellow walls on each side. All right, we're going to create one last script, and I promise it's going to be one of the easiest scripts you ever create. and that is for our targets. So in our environment, let's create a new game object, 2D object, sprites, and square. We're going to call this target, and I'm going to make it, let's make it 2 by 1. Awesome. And I don't know, whatever color you want. We'll make it red for right now. We could also make it change colors when you hit these targets. But again, we're going to make a really easy script for these. And to do that, this time we'll go down to our scripts folder, right click, hit create, and scripting, mono behavior script. All right, same thing as creating the script on the component, but this time it'll guarantee that it's in our scripts folder. Before you click off, make sure you type in the name and just type in target. Now our target script should load. You might have to double click on it. There we go. All right, with our target script open, go ahead and delete the start method, the update method, and the comments, just leaving these curly braces for our target class. And here you can add some room, and we're going to add a on collision enter 2D. So when something collides with this, these objects, these targets are not going to move. So we don't have to worry about anything else colliding for right now, just when the ball collides. So real simple, when something collides, we're going to shut this off. So we're going to say this dot game object set active false. It's going to disable this object, and that is it. Hit Control S or Command S on your keyboard, go back to the game, and let's see if we can hit our target. And nothing. Well, that was very depressing. So what did we do wrong? Let's go back to our target and take a look. And yep, we forgot to add a collider. So there's nothing for the script. And even better, there's no script on this target. So sometimes go a little too fast. You just got to slow down and remember, take your time, grab your target script, bring it over. You can drag it over to your target. Another way you can do it, now that target script's already created, you can hit add component, and there it is, target, or type in target in the search, and you should have it. And then before we forget, close this window, let's add in a box collider 2D. So there's something for this object to collide with. All right, hit play, fingers crossed. And boom, we got it. Sweet. So go ahead and feel free to add as many targets as you want. Color them how you see fit. You can quickly, with the grid enabled, grid snapping enabled, if you duplicate this, you can quickly drag it out and start making yourself a little puzzle and color them how you see fit. And we'll see you next time. Hope you're enjoying this tutorial series, and hopefully the mic's a little better, don't have as much background noise. And the next video, we're going to dive into the UI elements and expand out our target script just a little bit. We'll see you then.